Why don't we bring Ashley back up here and let her do another song for us, please? Yes.
So the songs earlier were some cover songs, things you'd recognize. And I have lost my guitar pick. Oh, there it is. This next one is one written by my very good friend and bandmate. It's called 79 Sunshine. It's about the warm weather and getting over the things that bring you down, which, you know, getting out in the outside in the warmth and feeling the sun, that'll help you out. So. Good times. What about tomorrow? I've seen love come and go. For no reason at all, I probably heard more than I showed. Yes, the same old songs, the same tight lines, same reasons, same wrongs, same alibis. And you can flip the switch and I'll be feeling fine. When it's 79 and sunshine so divine, blowing out the clouds and rain in my mind. And I can't help thinking it's almost summertime. Good time. And there I smile and I say, boy, you got it made. Know I'll be okay. I got my music, I got my friends, we get together, you know, and we play whenever we can. I feel good, but I get a little higher when it's 79, sunshine so divine, blowing out the clouds and rain in my mind. And I can't help thinking it's almost summertime. Good time. We're having a good time. We're having a good time.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. No. All right.
Trouble joke again.
For those of you that have been here every week that I've spoken, I've had trouble with that, haven't I?
It's coming through on the Zoom just fine if you want to log in.
Oh, is it? Well, that's good to know. Usually we got where Jeannie brings her Mac and we run wonderfully, but Jeannie's under the weather and we wanted to send out our love to her because yesterday was her birthday and today's Mother's Day and she's been under the weather and she has family in town and they had big adventures planned and the best laid plans, right, don't always unfold like we like. So, Mother's Day. I do think of mothers as a lighthouse. this wonderful landmark, this beacon that for many a young lad, okay, in this case me, helped me stay off the rocks in life. Was that great beacon, that great landmark that allowed me to have a living example of who to be, how to be, the type of person to show up into the world as. And I know that we also want to acknowledge today that some of us didn't have mothers like that. Our mothers were on the rocks in their own life, okay? And they weren't able to be that beacon, that landmark for us. And I want to acknowledge that and to know, we know, and we support you in knowing that that's okay to have had that experience, to have those mothers, or not to have a mother at all. But most of us in our lives at least had that figure, that wonderful, divine, feminine figure in our life that was that landmark. That wonderful, the one that watched over those ships at sea, right? Being the children. Right? And in my case, the one that had the wonderful gaze that about the time I was to get in trouble, I caught that eye and knew that, oops, I think I'll move back this direction. Had those great eyes, right? And sometimes in the back of their head, that from the other room, they could call out and know that we were getting into something, even though we thought, we got it, we're slipping this by on them. But no, well, the divine feminine, here in the unity movement, we often talk about metaphysics and that we interpret things metaphysically, meaning that everything has this truth within it for us that we can discern and pull out of it. Whatever the aspect is, whatever the person, whatever the story is, there's something within it that we can pull out and make useful for ourselves. And Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of the Unity Movement, writes for us that mothers or women represent the feminine phase of human being. Woman typifies love in the soul, but typifies that love that is not quite yet established in substance, meaning brought out and made manifest into the world. So it's an unspiritualized love. And don't misinterpret that that's something negative about women and females. We're talking about revealing what this story has for us. So that divine feminine is really this exemplifier of love, but we want that love manifested. And that love is a divine attribute. God is love, love is God. So it's this quality that all of us have and that we're wanting to bring forth into our lives. And divine love is this great unifying, harmonizing force in our world, where our personal love, can be very judgmental and petty sometimes, very fickle sometimes in our lives, right? Where that great divine love is most certainly bigger and beyond, encompassing all for us. So divine love really also brings forth this fierceness or this fearlessness in us as well. And I don't know how many of your mothers were that just absolute fierce and fearlessness exemplifier, okay, right? Because I've seen my mother take on folks that were messing with me that scared me to the ends of my little short pants. That love calls out that part of us that in that divine is that protector that wants to embrace and hold and make sure that all is safe, all is well. So that love is really brought forth with us when it's demonstrated. And you demonstrating it by demonstrating the supply that's available, because it's infinitely available to us. We don't always see it. We don't think it's there quite often in our lives, but that supply is always infinite. And it's us demonstrating that brings that love forth and takes it from an unspiritualized love into a manifested, a spiritual love, a divine love in our lives. I love the stories in the Bible. Not because I've always been a fan of the Bible. The Bible just hadn't been my best bud in my life. But I've learned to appreciate that the stories are there to share something for me personally and for you personally. And there's a story in 1 Kings, and that's in the Hebrew Testament. And the story takes place about 9th century before Common Era. So if you think about that, that's more than a day or two ago. Okay? And in the story, Israel is divided into two territories then, a northern and a southern territory. And the northern territory has a king called King Ahab. Right? King Ahab is married to someone infamous in the Bible. Who here knows who King Ahab was married to? Yes, she knew it. Say it louder. Jezebel, yes. So, in our story, Jezebel brings her god, Baal is the name of her god, into the kingdom of the northern territory of Israel. And King Ahab, instead of worshiping Yahweh, encourages the worshiping of Baal. So Elijah, one of the prophets in the Old Testament, comes forward, and Elijah is just all about not worshiping Baal and worshiping Yahweh, and is very vocal about this, and tells King Ahab that if he continues to support the worshiping of Baal, that there'll be a great drought. A drought will be no rain, no dew, no moisture, nothing. Right? And as we often find in great stories, men that challenge men of power, they learn quickly that maybe they need to get out of Dodge. So Elijah hears the word of the Lord that says, go to this place where there's a wadi, a well. And while you're there, I will see to it that the ravens feed you. And he goes and he spends some time there. But because there's a drought in the land, what happens? Well, the well dries up. So the voice of the Lord comes to him again and tells him to go to Zarephath, the city of Zarephath, and there will be a widow there that will take care of him, will help meet the needs that he has. So as he gets to the gates of Zarephath, and he sees this woman, this widow, picking up sticks, and he calls out to her, hey, bring me some water so I may quench my thirst. And she obliges him. And she heads away to get him water. He says, and bring me a little bread while you're at it too. And she responds, I'm sorry, but I have but a little meal in my jar and just a little oil in my jug. And I'm gathering these sticks because I don't even have bread made. I'm going to go home and use the last of this so that my son and I can eat, and then we will die. Meaning, that's it. There will be no other food for us. This is all we have. And Elijah tells her, it's okay. Have faith. Have no fear. Know that that jar of meal is going to suffice. And that jug of wine, that'd be good to go with that, Brent. That jug of oil will not empty. So, as she leaves, he tells her, make sure you bring bread to me first and then make yours. And that's an important point in our story. So she goes and makes the bread, brings the bread to him, and the three of them, the widow, her son, and Elijah, continue to eat and eat and eat and eat, and the jar and the jug don't empty. in our story. But as the days pass, the son grows ill and the son dies, and the widow blames Elijah for that death. And Elijah goes and takes the son from her breast and takes him to his room. His room is up on the second floor. So he takes the child to where? The upper chamber. Okay? So in the upper chamber, he lays across the child 3 times, which really is, he's supplicating, he's surrendering into. And the child awakens, returns to life. And he takes the child back to the mother, and she celebrates that truly the word of God must be in the mouth of this being, Elijah. The story to me is fun in that Elijah, we don't think Elijah was really Elijah's name. We think Elijah's a title, because Elijah means my God is Yahweh. And what was Elijah running around doing all the time? Saying, my God's Yahweh, stop worshiping Baal. But also, in this story, it's fun in that the first time someone is resurrected in the Bible is in this story. And those are just little, I'm sure you will impress your and amaze your friends with those little tidbits later on. Right after you share that Taylor Swift joke, right? So metaphysically in our story, here we have Ahab and we have Jezebel. Ahab is false intellectual reasoning, according to Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity. And Jezebel represents the counterpart, all the body sensations and desire. And then when you put those two together, what you get is an error thought, a false person, not the truth of your being. In our story, Elijah goes to Zarephath. Zarephath is a place of refinement, a smelting place, a place of purification with fire. So remember, what's smelting? Smelting is where you extract the precious metals out of the stuff that's the junk that you're going to throw away from. Okay? So here we have this town that we have a widow, her child, and Elijah, and they're both in lack. They don't have what they need. They're depleted in life. But when they come together, we have this mother, this divine love. And she aligns with this masculine, this divine masculine, which is wisdom. And to bring those together, the wisdom and love together, now there's manifestation, there's prosperity, there's the recognition of who and what you are. So our story is really a story of the uniting of us, of our masculine and feminine sides. It's us recognizing that the mothers that we've had in our lives aren't really just the women that we've seen in our lives. My father, at certain times in my life, my mother, she wouldn't have said she was on the rocks, but she was close to the rocks anyway, and really wasn't that great example of motherhood for me. And my stepdad was every bit of it. He was that lighthouse in my life. He was that wonderful, great beacon showing me the way. So we contain that masculine and feminine. All of us do. So in some ways, that mothering that some of us wanted, needed, that maybe we didn't get, it's already right here for us. It's how do we bring that love and that wisdom into union? So the wisdom is really an attribute of our Spirit of Christ, our divine self. And the price that we pay for that divine wisdom is really letting go of our ego, which isn't too big of a price to pay. And remember, letting go of our ego means not letting go of our personality and our unique expression of who we are, but yet letting go of our false belief that somehow we don't have, that we're less than, we're not good enough, we're not right, that the world is not loving and generous and prosperous to us. Because it's attempting and offering that all the time. It's whether we're picking up and receiving that. So wisdom is really letting go of our personal self. And how do we let go of our personal self? He talks about it all the time. What do I say every time I ever stand up here? Come on. Y'all, I know some of you go, I get tired of hearing it. How do you let go of your personal self? What are the practices that you do?
Protection.
How about a little prayer? How about a little meditation? But also, how about those practices of self-awareness? Discovering those places where we hold those wounds and those beliefs, those faulty beliefs about who we are. Those things that we picked up from our families, from our friends, from society, that tell us that we aren't right in some way, shape, or form. Right? It's becoming aware of those things. It's those practices that bring that out. But it's sitting and being in that place where I can hear that wisdom. And that's allowing that quiet voice, that stillness to be there for me. And what about that love? How do we demonstrate that love? In our story, what did the widow do that I said was a key point?
She fed him first.
She fed him first. She was willing to say, there's enough, there's abundance. I have faith that as I give, there'll be ample, there'll be plenty. Prosperity abounds in my life. That love needs to be expressed. It needs to be given. Just like that wonderful, fearless mother reaching out into the world and giving of that love. It can't be just contained and saying that, oh, it's there, that's good enough. You want it expressed. And when you express that love, share that love, and tie that together with this understanding and bringing about our awareness of those false beliefs and embracing our Christ nature, then we bring those two into union. We bring that masculine and feminine. So all of us become, to me, that lighthouse. But that lighthouse that moves into the world and becomes a lighthouse not just for our children, if we have children, but become that for all people in our lives and for ourselves. Because who else wants that beacon more so than us, right? Don't we want that awareness, that reminder of how to stay off the rocks in our lives?
Yeah.
Yes. So with this, let's take this to meditation. So as you're comfortable, just allow yourself to still and settle down. No concern about the thoughts that may be going through your head, the plans that you have for lunch and later in the day and next week. Just being here, being present now, filling this space with you, all of you, the awareness and consciousness of you. And here, be aware of the chair that you're sitting on, the pressure that it places on your body. And aware of the rise and fall of your breath. And here, that breath that rises and falls is that divine presence that one source, that one universal intelligence breathes here, breathes as you. And thus that divine love, that divine feminine resides here within you. But as does that divine wisdom, the divine masculine resides here within you. And we call upon those attributes, that which is alive in us, that intuition, that love, that compassion, that generosity, but also that wisdom, that knowledge, that strength, that power. And that we see ourselves standing like that lighthouse. We're anchored into our bedrock. It doesn't matter how the waves crash against us, we stand strong. And we stand brightly shining out. Calling forth and reminding the world who we are, what we are. This wonderful Christ alive presence. And as our beacon shines forth, it means our light shines forth out into the world and touches others, reminding them too of their own divine wisdom, divine love. And that we're fiercely being that divine feminine, that motherly presence. Whether we're doing it with our arms, or doing it with our hearts, we're embracing those in our lives. Allowing them to know that they're safe. But we're also holding forth and knowing the wisdom that flows from that. The clarity, the understanding, the truth of their being, because we know the truth of our being. Those rocks upon the shore no longer become a threat, become the strength that we stand on. We're anchored in deeply into our divine awareness. God resides here. And as we move back into the awareness of this space, this time, the chair we sit in, the rise and fall of our breath, we still see us as that lighthouse, that beacon, that landmark for ourselves and for the world. And if your eyes are closed, when you're ready, open those, return to this space, look around and be aware of the other lighthouses in this room.